Chelsea's opening game of the season, they did win 3-1 at Brighton. They've spent a lot of money on some really exciting attacking players, but still the goalkeeper is a talking point, as we saw there from Monday. And actually, as we've seen in the last 12 months, where suddenly it's been a regular discussion, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. And when he first hit the scene, everybody was a little bit surprised at the price tag. He hadn't played that frequently for Atletico Madrid. I think he played once for Spain, and so it was one of those where you're thinking, oh, OK, so they've seen something and he'll probably justify it as time goes by. But when you look at him, you just feel that it's just not getting better. You know what I mean? You look at him there trying to come into traffic. He doesn't seem like somebody that's very forward in coming off his line. He's not very dominant in respects of coming and getting balls. He's not a great shot stopper. Even the goal you saw against Brighton there, I think that it kind of went under his arm a little bit. It's just, I've not seen no improvement in him from the time he's come to now.
72 million, you have to give... I mean, you can't just chuck an asset away like that easily, Melissa. I'd suggest if he was 15 million, they may well have made a change already by now, but 72 million's a different matter.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to shift him. Who is going to take a goalkeeper who's so psychologically shot? He's not doing any of the basics correct. He's completely gone. He's expecting to make mistakes. His manager's expecting him to make mistakes. His teammates are expecting him to make mistakes, and it's just a very unhealthy situation. And it will be taking a toll on him mentally, because he'll be wondering why he cannot do the one thing he knows he was always good at doing, goalkeeping. And Chelsea are very good at making profits on their sales, which is part of the reason they could spend so much this summer. They're very, very good at generating that. So it will irk them a bit that they're going to have to take a massive loss on him, but for all their attacking and creative talent that they've added to that squad, you cannot win the biggest prizes if you have no confidence in your defence, and especially in your last line of defence.
You had Tim Flowers, you won the league. You had David Seaman, you won the league. I mean, it's impossible. We were trying to think beforehand of any team who's won the league with a goalkeeper that nobody fancied, particularly that their own back four wouldn't fancy. Do you think they have to get Mendy in? It looks like that's what they want to do. They have to change their goalkeeper if they're going to be serious about trying to win the league.
I'm no goalkeeping expert, but the boy looks like he causes such nerves amongst this group of players in front of him. I think it doesn't help him that they chop and change the back four all of the time. I mean, I think offensive, normally managers go, goalkeeper stays the same. And if they're fit, so does the back four, back five, where they want to play.
Especially the centre-halves.
Yeah, two centre-halves, paramount importance. In front, you can mix it up, but there's no continuity between the six of them or five of them. I just think for me, he lost me as a goalkeeper when he wouldn't come off the pitch in the Carabao Cup final. I thought that was a very poor show. The manager's telling him to come off the pitch. Now, he can lose me, I don't know, that's just a personal choice. I didn't like it. I thought he should have come off. And I think what's happened since then is heaped so much pressure on him, that incident, because people like me think in the same way. Chelsea fans think the same way about him. As much as they didn't like Sarri so much, it was such disrespect. You know, that was huge, and I'm sure it bred throughout the dressing room. And I'm sure we could speak to a man who was in that dressing room.
Yeah, well, let's speak to Rob Green, former England goalkeeper who played at Chelsea as well. Rob, that's the view, everybody here. What about from you, from a goalkeeping point of view? I suppose my question is a fairly simple one. Can you see a way back for Kepa?
Hi guys. Yeah, it's going to be tough for him. I think that the previous season, last season under Frank, I think the way that Frank wanted to play, guys. Yeah, it's going to be tough for him. I think that the previous season, last season under Frank, I think the way that Frank wanted to play, the wholesale changes he made in the style of play was massive from under Sarri, and I think that. There was a relationship breakdown in that respect in terms of Frank wanted to play a certain way and Kepa wasn't willing to do so much. So it's a difficult one that as a goalkeeper, you kind of want to feel comfortable. You want to feel confident, as Tim was saying, within the team. But when things change so much, then it becomes a bit of you become uncomfortable in yourself. And I think that's borne through. So it was very different last season to the season before, and where he thrived in the first season in the Premier League and in the Europa League, I think that's been taken away from him. And as you're saying now, that relationship between him and the manager and him and the players is one that maybe Europa League. I think that that's been taken away from him. And as you're saying now, that relationship between him and the manager and him and the players is one that maybe is a little bit fractured and one that might need resolving in some way, shape or form.
I was going to ask you, Rob, in respect of his confidence now, because when they continue to play in him, and as a goalkeeper, when you're going through that little bit of a confidence dip, well, I think he's in a major confidence dip. How do you get through that when you know you're probably going to play on Saturday? When you, like Melissa said there, the manager's not got confidence in you, the players are not confident in you. You're feeling it from the lads. How do you get through that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? And I put it down similar to maybe yourself as a centre forward, where one goes in off your backside. Yeah. You need to make a save that just brings you back to some sort of parity. And you save in a game that wins the team a game. And it's one that's, you can't rely on it. You've got to keep the basics, as Melissa was saying. You've got to keep the basics right and trust that will come through. Now, to go to Kepa's case, it wasn't that long ago that the end of last season finished and Willy Caballero was playing. Yeah. So they've decided to make that change again in a matter of weeks and in a matter of a game. And so that chopping and changing also doesn't help. So there isn't that stability there. There isn't that continuity there. But as a keeper, you just need to concentrate on the basics and trust that moment will come where you make that save and that alleviates the pressure, because the focus then goes on to someone else or something else.
Rob, how much of this do you think is the psychological element? Because it does look like he's playing with the weight of knowing that people are expecting him to falter, his own teammates and his manager as well. And how difficult is it to shake that psychological element and get back to being the goalkeeper he knows he can be?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, in terms of, whether the manager's waiting for it to happen and these players, you just have to ask them. But I think from an outside perspective now, the focus is on him. I think it's his... As in the goalkeeping sense, you'd say it's his turn in the barrel. Last season it was De Gea and Lloris, and now it's his turn. And you're looking at it and you say, well, you just want, I think psychologically, the performances need to come first. You want to go back to the basics, as I was saying, just get that right and then build confidence from there. It's so tough because, as I was saying, for a striker, one of those things can happen, and it's just a moment of good fortune. For a goalkeeper, you need to get it right all the time, and that moment of bad fortune can be round the corner any moment.
Yeah.
Robert, I was watching some stuff, because I watch goalkeepers, and I watch that bit what they do sometimes, and when both feet come off the ground because you're getting ready to get set, Rob. So what I've seen with Kepa, and what I've noticed, and I just wanted to ask you, he kind of throws his hands back before he springs forward. You see, once there it is there, you see, he springs his hands back. And I'm thinking, because I've seen him do it a couple of times, I'm thinking, is that something that split second of, look, there it is again, that split second, that him doing that, can that be affecting something? Because I'm seeing it as a pattern.
Yeah, it's an interesting technique that you picked up on there. And also I'd say that you look at the set position itself, his legs are a little bit wider than I would like. Personally, I like to keep my hands in front. And so I could see the ball, I could see my hands, and you have that hand-eye coordination thing. For Kepa, I've spoken to him about it, and De Gea does it, Jordan Pickford does it, a number of other keepers do it, where they throw their hands up back to get momentum into the dive. And the best way I can explain it is if someone asked you to jump as high as you could from a standing position, you would use your arms and you would throw them backwards before you went forwards. The beauty of that is you're in complete control of that jump. The difficulty with goalkeeping is you've got to get that timing absolutely right. And the problem is, if your hands are back and the ball's already travelling, your hands are trying to have to catch up with the ball and your body. And it's the same with your trailing legs. Say if you're diving to your right, your body can go as fast as your left leg or your left hand. You can only go as far as it's got to catch up. Right. So it's kind of counterintuitive, because you do want to throw your hands back because it's a natural instinct, but actually throwing your hands back can slow you down. But it's a trait that a lot of goalkeepers do. It's one that Kepa does. It's one that he feels serves him well. well. But, it's down to one of them beautiful things. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
Every goalkeeper is different.
Yeah, the only answer is to keep it out, isn't it, Rob? Why is it that he seems to concede quite a lot of goals from outside of the penalty area? We saw it with Trossard the other day, and we're showing people a run as well of goals from beaten from distance. And he's a very tall man, and as a viewer, you always think, oh, it's gone in.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on there?
But he's not overly tall, to be honest. But some. I mean, the first one against Burnley, that's an absolute screamer. This is a screamer, but at the same time, I think that teams pick up on these things, and it's been highlighted now many times and people will shoot from distance. So there's obviously a context to it as well, that you turn around and say, well, once people start looking for it, then people will do it more. And the finite details that these teams go into now, they say if you pick up the ball within 20, 25 yards, people feel that there's an obvious weakness in a game there, that they will shoot more, maybe against Chelsea, maybe because they don't get the opportunities closer to goal. But it's been highlighted, and therefore people will do it more in games.
Very straightforward question. Can they possibly challenge for the title with Kepa in goal, or do they have to make a change?
I got asked a similar question: can you win the title with a great goalkeeper? I think you asked the guys before, and I was casting my mind back, and technically Barthez was a poor goalkeeper. He wasn't brilliant. He was a small guy, but could do amazing things and at critical moments. Yeah. And you look when Leicester won the league, Kasper Schmeichel had played 32 Premier League games before the start of that season. Now, that doesn't constitute someone who is renowned as a world-class goalkeeper. Now, he is, because of what he's done. But at that moment in time, you're looking at someone like Kepa now, and you're saying it will have to be a turnaround, if significance, in confidence, in shot stopping, that takes it away, the focus away from him, and gives that confidence to him, the team, and the manager. It's going to be a big shift. It takes it away, the focus away from him, and gives that confidence to him, the team, and the manager. It's going to be a big shift.
Thank you very much, Robert.
Brilliant,
really
Rob.
Interesting stuff. Thank you very much indeed. We'll speak to you again soon. Who'd be a goalkeeper, Because you scored hundreds of goals in your career, but we could show a run of even you missing 10 sitters.
Yeah,
And you go, what's going on with Ian Wright?
because
with the goalkeeper, it's always so magnified.
It is so magnified, and it was interesting that the three goalkeepers he mentioned in respect to putting their arms back was Kepa, Jordan Pickford and De Gea.
Yeah.
Three goalkeepers that seem to be having a bit of a bad time at the moment. So it's something that I'm gonna watch out for. But I think Rob explained it really well there, especially the psychological side of being a goalkeeper. Because as a forward, and he mentioned it, as a forward, you can be having an absolute nightmare. You only need to score a goal and you're back. And you're waiting to make that great save, but all the time you're waiting to make that great save, you might make another mistake. And even if you make a good save in the game, they're still going to harp on the mistakes. So it really is a tough one being a goalkeeper. And
then in front of him, of course, there have been so many changes. I mean, settle down a little bit now because, well, he's not even played yet, but you'd have Chilwell at left back, Reece James at right back. But still, as Tim was saying, those centre-half positions, Christensen, we saw him playing for Denmark the other day, got bullied off the ball by Lukaku, Rudiger's a little bit in and out.
Thiago Silva will come in.
Thiago Silva, but how many games is he? He'll be great for experience, when he'll be great for a voice. Yeah. But we have to ask a question, physicality, and how many games can he actually play? There's still a lot of question marks. And as Tim says, the manager, that vital triangular pivot of goalkeeper and two centre-halves. Yeah,
it's nothing looks good for him. The uncertainty, the fact that we can all see that there is no confidence from his team and his manager in him. We can see that he doesn't have confidence in himself. We can see that the opposition are targeting him as a weakness, which is why, as Rob mentioned, they continuously shoot from outside of the box. So all those elements bubble into how does he recover? Even if he makes a good save, like Ian says, if he makes a mistake, that is all anyone will talk about. He's made another mistake. And I think no matter how many good saves he makes, if there are still mistakes in the equation, as there will be for a goalkeeper, it will be judged differently with him because there's a narrative around him. And the narrative is right because he has cost them a lot of points with some silly mistakes. I cannot see his career uplifting again unless he leaves, because I think the situation is a bit, maybe not untenable yet, but I think it will get to the point of being untenable. And I want to go back to use a similar kind of example, but it obviously wasn't as much money and stuff. Loris Karius at Liverpool, right? Those mistakes in Kiev in the Champions League final against Real Madrid, he was mentally broken by it. The club thought about remedying him and finding ways that they could help him. They tried a variety of things and they thought, okay, let's give him a run of preseason games. At the preseason games at like Tranmere and stuff, he was getting booed by the opposition fans. You could see his hands, all the basics again, like I was saying with Kepa, was completely gone. He forgot how to be a goalkeeper. And I spoke to the guy who coached him at Mainz, his goalkeeping coach, and he said, he's a completely different, I don't recognize that person. He's completely different. And the goalkeeping coach said to me, it's all here. And unfortunately, when it's all here, it can't change unless
and what we're saying is for a goalkeeper, it's all there, because here can be having a run and then suddenly one goes in off his knee and suddenly he's Ian Wright again and you're off the
responsible position, isn't it? But he's going to get all the help he needs. I mean, Petr today, he's one of the best goalkeepers we've ever seen in the Premier League history. And he's had bad times. When he went to Arsenal, he was terrible. You know, also, they want to play out from the back. They wanted to do this. He could not do it. He couldn't cope with it. So he's been through all different types of emotion. He's the man on hand to help him out. I'm sure they don't want to discard him. You've quite rightly said, Mark, that money they spent for him, where is he going to go? Melissa touched on it. Where will he go? I mean, he's going to be a massively cut price. They pay half money for him. No one's going to pay 30 million for that.
No chance. Not at the moment. He's not worth 30 million.
So you've got to work with him. Make sure you help him as best you can, and hopefully, and the big C word, it's about confidence. Everything is about confidence. And strikers, for midfield players, for goalkeepers especially, because it's so important. They kick the ball out of the net. Pickford, I'm his biggest critic. He makes saves. All goalkeepers make saves, but he's liable to make a rick or cost you the game. On the weekend, he makes 2 great saves in the first half against Tottenham, and the mistake never comes. That might be the turning point.
Yeah, but the problem, though, just before you move on with Petr Cech came from Rennes. Mendy's at Rennes.
Yes.
And you know that something's happening there.
Yeah.
So you have to say, if that's the case, and we're hearing this, then Petr Cech is probably involved in that, Tim, in respect of saying, listen, we might need to start.
We might need a new number one.
So I think that Chelsea maybe, like you said there, Melissa, are looking to say, we're going to probably have to take a hit on this guy. We're probably going to have to, because I feel like when you look at, you mentioned Karius, and it was heartbreaking watching the Champions League final, because all the way through that, him and Mignolet were constantly in, out, and to the point where he made the mistake, and the unbelievable mistake in the biggest game in his life. And is he ever going to recover? Yeah. Something's got to happen with Kepa, so he can either move on and get back on with his career and try again, or otherwise I could see disaster.
But it's no coincidence, isn't it? As you said, Karius, his Liverpool career was finished after that. Mignolet was a good goalkeeper, but not more than that. Liverpool make a change, obviously with Van Dijk as well, and then suddenly you get Alisson and they win the league. And it was exactly the same with Man City. They had Joe Hart, they won the league. Pep Guardiola didn't fancy him. Bravo has a season, he's OK. Now they get in Edison, they win leagues as well. None of this is rocket science, is it?
It's completely transformative, because Liverpool with Mignolet and Karius, the players were always waiting for the mistakes. The centre-backs, the defence, the midfield, everyone was expecting it. And it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because they were all on edge all the time, because they knew